Hello, welcome to my channel, Schwinn Addiction. Today I'm going to talk about Persons. Persons has been around since 1930s, maybe even longer. I can't really find no information on them, but they've been around since the 1930s. Schwinn's been using their seats since the pre-wars, probably even longer than that. But they used them on the pre-war bikes. But then they came out with the long spring seats, the long springs, and then there's Persons. There's three major seat companies that they use or that a lot of bike companies use was Persons, Troxels, and Messenger. Those have been around since the 1930s, since the pre-wars, and probably even older. But today we're talking about Persons seats. Right here, what I have before you, I have two seats. This is called a solo polo. Persons, these have been around since probably like the late 1950s. Persons came out with these. You can barely see the marking on the top, and it has a tag. Persons came out with these like way before the Stingray. They were just a accessory that they weren't really selling. They weren't even popular. They'd probably sell a couple here and there. People put them on their bikes, and some kids will put them on. Some kids will get the high-rise bars that came out because of the motorcycle. Everybody wanted their bikes to look like a motorcycle, and they had the long seats, and then they had the high-rise bars, and then they put them on the bike, and they call those pig bikes. So you'll see a lot of 1958 bikes with these seats, and they'll come with the square back, which was like a set that they sold together. This is a non-crimped. This is the early version. This is the older version. This is like they use these product, the only design they had up until 1963. And in 63 they changed it. They crimped it. They had a small crimp, and then 64 they had the small crimp, and then that was 63, and then 64 or early 64 they had the small crimp, and the late 64 they had the long crimp. So it was a real long crimp, like that long. Short crimp was only like that short, like a regular bike. And then 65 they came out with the high loop, and then this is a high loop. You can see I could fit my hand in it. This is a real high. That loop's real high, and this is called a square back. Okay, you can see it's a square. But this is the first seat that Schwinn used, because when Persons came out with this seat, they were marketing towards Polo. It's called Solo Polo because they're trying to market it as a polo bike. And usually Polo, you ride a horse and you hit it with the stick, hit the ball with the stick, and then try to make a goal. But Persons are trying to market the Solo Polo for a polo bike. You put this on a bike and then ride around the field and try to do the same thing. And they didn't really catch on, and I think they're about to go out of business, or they're just trying to get rid of all their stock. But Fritz from Schwinn, he heard about a fad in Southern California where the kids are getting these and putting them on their bikes, and then they get the high-rise bars. And so he went out there and he checked it out, and then he came out with but the kids the bikes that they're putting them on were like 26 and 24 inch. They were bigger bikes. A lot of the bikes I found were 26 inch bikes. I found a whole bunch of bikes. I find them with the sissy bar and the seat. And I found a couple of them up north, and a lot of them you'll always find them. But he came out with the 20-inch bike, and he put these on there and called it the Stingray, and that's how the Stingray was made. got birth from the pig bikes. And so this is the early version. This is the early version because it doesn't have a tag on the back, but it has a tag on the bottom. You can see the bracket. That's the person's bracket. I think it's stamped, but I can't really tell. Kind of rusted. No, I don't see no. It might be there somewhere, but kind of hard to say. And then so we got here. This is after this they started adding the tags, and this tag. This was probably like this. They call this the dog ears because it sticks out on the side. And this is probably this would be correct for 63 Stingrays. They started putting these on at the time. And they put those on, and then they changed it up. These are like 64 and up. 64s, well, only 64 because 65 they changed to this seat. This is a new design for 65, which is a saddle. They call it the saddle. It's a banana seat. But this is like for 64. And there's a couple designs. And then, but for 65, it didn't say persons. They added Schwinn on the back. So that's when they started adding Stingray to the back. So technically it's a Stingray seat, but it's made by persons. And you can see, I don't know if you can see the stamping. Usually there's a stamping on the back. It's kind of hard to see. But it's technically a person is Stingray seat made by persons, and as well as the sissy bars. Sissy bars made the sissy bar. Our persons made the sissy bar, and they made the seat. And they made this is the persons. You see right there, it says persons USA. This is patent pending, so it's like an early one. And it must have been trying to get it. Must have started getting popular, and then they wanted to patent pend it, so they could keep the design. This is a high loop. There's no patent pending. This is newer. This is persons. This is an original one. You could tell by the roundness of the pressing. And then you can tell. I made a video on this. You can tell the repops from the original. This is the original high loop. But this is a 63. So when they say this is the first year that Stingray used, when they got 20-inch bikes, which was probably like a Typhoon or like a regular Stingray. It wasn't even a Stingray, it was like a Typhoon. And they got they're pretty much all the same frame. This Typhoon had like a regular seat, small seat, and then wrapped around fenders and a regular handlebars, the low handlebars. But when they add the sissy bar and the seat and the high handlebars, it became a Stingray. And then they started changing it up a little bit, but you could still get these. This would be on the bottom of the seat. It's one rider only, not for two. That's what this sticker would say. I'll probably have this one redone. So the early seats, you can tell early seats because of the bracket. So the bracket kind of, what it was is these tabs, they came out the way they did is they cut this bracket and the tabs like flat, and then they fold them up, so they kind of just fold it up. So it's like a one piece of metal. And this is what I'm talking about. So you can see the bracket right here. It's welded right here. A couple welds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And see, it was one piece of metal and it was bent up. So it was flat from 63 to 67. This bracket right here is the same as this bracket as well. As you can see, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just a different shape of the seat, but the bracket's the same. Has the welds. There's a weld right there, the weld right there. It's pretty much the same bracket. So they use it from 63, 64, 65, and 66. It's the same thing. And you can tell the difference because the pan is flat. 67, all up to 67. Yes. So 68 and 69, it's the same bracket, but the seat has a little hump on it. It humps up. The 63 to 67, they're flat. So you can tell, like this on the crates, if you look at a crate seat, it has a hump, but it has this bracket on it. And it has the welds as well. And then later, the 70s, they changed it. So this bracket that goes up, it's like a U. And it has like an eyelet, and it has like a hole there's like 2 of them. So if you look down at the pan, there's 2 holes in between these brackets, top and bottom, and it has like an eyelet. It's like a hollow rivet, I guess you could say. And then later on, they use like a rivet in the flat through, so there's like 2 of them as well. The early 63s, or the 63, the Persons, they didn't have a reflector mount. The mount was, they sold a bracket that went on the sissy bar, and then you put the reflector on there. And then 65, they added the bracket onto the seat. So you have a bracket 65, 66, 67, 68, and 69. They all had this bracket. 70s, they switched it over. I'm pretty sure it was 70s. I don't know if it was pretty sure it was 70s that they went down to the fender. I know 76, 75 and 76 had this. I'm not sure if the seat bracket, I think the seat bracket was only up to the 60s, and then 70s it went down to here. And they have a fender mount bracket for your reflector, or a wrap around and put the reflector on the back. But they didn't have, I'm pretty sure it wasn't on the seat. So a lot of the bikes, they didn't have no bracket for your reflector. So you could tell the different years. So if you have this bracket from 63 to 67, from a solo polo to a saddle. And then if you have a saddle with this bracket and it's flat, then it's a 65 to 67. 68, 69, it had the hump. Just to go overview, it had the hump and it's welded. There you have it, just a quick little video on these early Persons seats. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Have a nice day.